Welcome to Facts Over Feels with Isabella and Alex. Okay, so this is kind of a hot topic.
Oh, yeah, it definitely is.
This whole dairy thing. Everyone's always saying dairy's bad for you.
Yeah.
But, like, growing up, I was always told to drink my milk for strong bones.
Yeah.
What's the truth here?
We got a lot of different sources for this one. We do.
Yeah.
Some medical journals, research briefs, even that piece from healthline.com.
Mhm.
Everybody's got an opinion, right?
Right, it seems like it. So we really have to sort through this. We've got almost like, what, 9,000 years of history?
Yeah, about 9,000 years.
Of humans and dairy. Why were people initially drawn to this as like a food?
Well, I mean, you got to think about it. Dairy's got a ton of good stuff, naturally rich in all these essential nutrients.
Okay.
Like calcium, protein, potassium, phosphorus, vitamins like B12 and D.
So it's not just like it wasn't just like a recent discovery. This has been known for a while.
Oh, yeah, definitely. I mean, lots of countries actually include dairy in their official nutritional recommendations.
So it's not an old wives' tale about milk being good for your bones.
Not at all. There's so many studies that have shown how drinking milk, especially when you're younger, can actually help your bones grow stronger and denser.
Okay.
And that means you're less likely to break something as you get older.
Yeah, that makes sense because, like, kids are constantly growing. They need all the help they can get, right?
Exactly. And it's not just the calcium that's doing all the work either.
Oh, okay.
It's like this whole team of nutrients in dairy working together.
Right.
It's what they call a synergistic effect, kind of like a team of superheroes.
Right.
Each one with their own special powers to keep your bones healthy.
So, like vitamin D helps your body absorb the calcium better.
Right.
And then you've got the protein that helps to build the actual bone strength, too.
Exactly. And this all just from one simple glass of milk.
Wow. Okay. So dairy is a good thing for your skeletal system. But what about all this online chatter I see about dairy being inflammatory?
Yeah, I mean,
Talk about that.
the internet's a wild place, right?
Yeah.
You can't believe everything you see. When it comes to inflammation, some studies actually suggest dairy might be, get this, anti-inflammatory.
What?
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah, especially things like yogurt and cheese.
Interesting.
They're fermented,
Yeah.
And scientists think that this might actually have a positive effect.
Wow. So that's like totally opposite of what I've been reading online.
Exactly. Plus, we're still learning about how all the different parts of dairy work together.
Okay.
It's a complicated system, but it definitely challenges this idea that dairy automatically equals inflammation.
Okay. That's fascinating. We're going to be talking about how yogurt could maybe even be a cancer fighter.
Interesting.
And how milk, even simple milk, could be linked to a healthier heart.
Yeah, that really kind of challenges some assumptions about dairy, doesn't it?
It really does.
These studies give us some really good insights, I think, to the connection between what we eat and how long we live.
Yeah, for sure.
Particularly when we're talking about cardiovascular health and colorectal cancer risk.
Okay. But what about the whole weight gain thing? Because I always feel like I've been told to stay away from dairy.
Right. It's like the classic diet tip. Right. Avoid dairy if you don't want to gain weight.
Yeah, but it's not really true.
Well, there's this big study, a meta-analysis that looked at a bunch of other studies.
Okay.
And guess what? They found that dairy doesn't actually cause significant weight gain.
Really?
Yeah.
So all those years, I was like, oh, no ice cream for me.
Well, I mean, everything in moderation, right?
Yeah.
But the research says that dairy's not the one to blame.
Yep.
In fact, there are even some studies that suggest that dairy might actually help with weight loss.
What? Okay, hold on. How does that even work?
Scientists are still figuring that part out, but it seems like the calcium and protein in dairy might play a role in controlling your appetite.
Interesting.
Helping you feel full for longer, maybe even affecting how your body burns fat.
Okay, so we debunked the inflammatory myth and the weight gain myth.
2 down.
What about people who are, lactose intolerant?
Right.
Can they still enjoy dairy?
Well, it's not a one-size-fits-all kind of thing, right?
Right.
Some people might have issues after eating certain dairy products, but that doesn't mean they have to avoid everything.
Okay.
Things like hard cheeses and yogurt, they're usually easier to digest.
Okay.
So even for those who can't tolerate a lot of dairy, it's still a good idea to try and get some in their diet.
Because of all the, nutritional value.
Exactly. Those nutrients are hard to find elsewhere,
Right.
Especially in such an easy-to-absorb form.
Okay. And speaking of nutrients, we have to talk about protein.
Oh, yeah. Dairy's a powerhouse when it comes to protein.
And it's not just for bodybuilders, right?
Not at all. Protein's important for everyone, especially as we age.
Okay.
It helps us build and maintain muscle mass,
And that's key for, staying active and strong as you get older, right?
Exactly. So don't underestimate the protein power of dairy.
Okay, so we've talked about a lot of good things about dairy
We have.
and like busted some of those long-held myths.
Yeah,
It seems pretty clear that saying dairy is bad is way too simplistic.
definitely. Why all the negativity when the research actually shows it can be pretty good for you?
It's confusing.
It is, and the more we look into it, it seems like there's something else going on here.
Okay.
It's not just about individual health concerns.
So you think there are like other agendas at play?
Yeah, possibly. Like some environmental groups say that producing dairy is bad for the planet.
Oh, right, like the whole cow methane thing.
Exactly, and how much land it takes to raise all those cows. But does that mean we need to completely ditch dairy?
Right.
Maybe the focus should be on making dairy farming more sustainable.
Yeah, like finding ways to reduce the environmental impact.
Exactly, instead of just like banning it altogether.
Yeah, makes sense. What about like animal welfare?
Right, that's a big one for a lot of people. And those concerns are important, but it's important to remember that not all dairy farms are the same.
Okay, so again, maybe it's about encouraging better practices
Yeah, exactly.
instead of just saying no to all dairy.
A boycott might not be the best solution,
Yeah.
especially for those who rely on dairy, you know?
Yeah, those nutrients.
Exactly. Think about it. Calcium, protein, all those vitamins.
It could be hard to get enough of those without dairy.
Exactly. We got to think about the big picture here.
Yeah, it's more complicated than just saying dairy is bad. So do you think all this anti-dairy talk could actually be harmful?
Potentially, yeah.
Like, people might choose less healthy options because they're afraid of dairy?
Right. Or it could create this unnecessary fear around a food that's been around for ages.
And that's been proven to be beneficial in a lot of ways.
Exactly. So where do we go from here?
Yeah, good question.
I think the most important thing is not to just believe everything you hear, especially online.
Okay.
Do your own research, talk to experts, make informed choices for yourself.
So it comes down to personal responsibility.
Absolutely. Knowing the facts and making choices that align with your own needs and values.
Well, there's one thing we haven't talked about yet.
Oh, is there?
What about dairy and athletic performance?
Right. People don't usually think of dairy as a sports drink, but maybe they should.
I gotta admit, I never really thought of dairy as like an athlete's best friend.
Yeah, I think a lot of people don't.
But I've heard there's a lot of research out there suggesting that maybe I'm wrong.
You might be surprised by what the science says.
Okay, well, I'm all ears. Tell me, why should athletes care about dairy?
Let's go back to protein for a second.
Okay,
We talked about how dairy is packed with protein, right?
right. And how it's really good quality protein.
Exactly. And that's especially important for athletes, you know?
Why is that?
Well, those intense workouts, they break down muscle tissue.
Okay.
And protein is crucial for repairing and rebuilding those muscles.
So that whole post-workout protein shake thing, that's not just hype?
Not at all. It actually helps you recover faster and build muscle.
Interesting. So dairy can actually help athletes build muscle and get stronger.
It can definitely give them an edge. And there's more, too. It's not just about muscle building. Dairy also helps with rehydration and electrolyte balance.
Which are both super important for performance, right?
Exactly. You lose electrolytes when you sweat.
Right. Things like sodium, potassium, calcium.
Exactly. And guess what? Milk is a natural source of all those electrolytes.
Wow. And I guess the carbs in milk help replenish your energy too.
They do. They help refill those glycogen stores that get depleted during workouts.
So a glass of chocolate milk after a run is actually a good recovery strategy.
It could be better than those sugary sports drinks.
Okay, but doesn't milk have a lot of sugar too?
Well, yeah, it does have some natural sugars, but it's also got protein and electrolytes that those sports drinks often lack.
So it's like a more balanced option.
Exactly. Plus, some studies even suggest that dairy might help reduce muscle soreness.
Oh, really? Tell me more about that, because I hate being sore after a workout.
Well, we need more research on this, but some studies show that drinking milk or having some whey protein before or after exercise can actually ease that soreness.
Wow. So dairy can help with performance, recovery, and even soreness.
Seems like it.
This is amazing. I had no idea dairy could be so beneficial for athletes.
It's often overlooked, but the science is pretty clear.
This whole deep dive has been so eye-opening. We've debunked so many myths about dairy
We have.
and explored all these amazing benefits from strong bones to, now, athletic performance.
It's been a fun journey.
It has. And more than anything, I think we've learned how important it is to be critical of what we hear and to make our own informed choices.
Absolutely. Don't just believe the hype, do your research and decide what's right for you.
Well said. Thanks for joining me on this deep dive into the truth about dairy.
It's been my pleasure.
And remember, stay curious, stay informed, and keep learning.